Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, as we continue with the showcase of the independents, we're profiling independent wrestling companies' best matches of 2025. So far, we've done Prestige Wrestling and we have done Deadlock Pro Wrestling. Unfortunately, both of those companies will be shutting down after 2025. So the next one up is going to be West Coast Pro. They have actually done shows with Deadlock Pro and with Prestige. To my knowledge, they do have a full slate of shows scheduled for 2026. So excited about that. In 2025, they had 15 shows altogether. They had 2 shows where they comboed a triple show with West Coast Pro, Prestige, and Deadlock Pro. And they had 2 other shows where they just ran with Prestige Wrestling. 125 matches total for West Coast Pro in 2025. 103 men's, 20 women, and 2 intergender. The current West Coast Pro Heavyweight Champion is Vinny Massaro, 63 days and counting. The current Golden Gate Champion is Andrew Cass, 63 days and counting as well. The Tag Team Champions are the Crush Boys, Starboy Charlie, and Titus Alexander, 161 plus days. The West Coast Pro Women's Champion is Johnny Robbie, 287 days. She has held that title. So I'm going to do the 10 best women matches and the 25 best men's matches of 2025. So number 10 on the women's list is going to be from the Prestige West Coast Deadlock Pro United show on June 1st. The Deadlock Pro Women's Championship on the line, champion Dana Luna and Nicole Matthews. Dana Luna retaining the title, 2 3/4 star match. Number 9 comes from Cruel Summer, also a triple show of Prestige, West Coast Pro, and Deadlock Pro. A tag team match, Dana Luna and Johnny Robbie taking on Masha Slamovich and Nicole Matthews. The team of Dana Luna and Johnny Robbie won the match in 2 3/4 star. Next up from West Coast Pro, put that on something, October 12th, the West Coast Pro Women's Championship, champion Johnny Robbie taking on Maya World, who recently signed with AEW. Johnny Robbie retained her title in a 3-star match. Number 7 comes from West Coast Pro Only the Strong Survive on January 10th for the West Coast Pro Women's Championship. Champion Zara Zackler taking on Becca. Zara Zackler retained her title, 3 1/4 star match. Number 6 comes from Only the Strong Survive as well. It was the West Coast Pro Golden Gate title tournament qualifying match in a fatal 4-way. It was Stimbashi versus Danny Ryan versus Brett the Threat versus Jason Alexander, and Brett the Threat won, 3 1/4 star. Number 5 comes from How the West Was Won on November 1st. Willow Nightingale taking on Maya World. Willow Nightingale getting the victory. I gave it a 3 1/4 star. Number 4 comes from the Prestige Wrestling West Coast Pro Strength Beyond Strength on November 7th. The West Coast Pro Women's Championship on the line, champion Johnny Robbie taking on Amira. Johnny Robbie retained her title, 3 1/4 star match. And if you want to know how Johnny Robbie won her title, it came at West Coast Best Coast on March 22nd. Champion Zara Zackler, women's champion, taking on Johnny Robbie, and Johnny Robbie won the title, 3 1/2 star match. Number 2 came from How the West Was Won November 1st, the West Coast Pro Women's Championship on the line. Champion Johnny Robbie taking on Danny Luna. Johnny Robbie winning the match, 3 1/2 star. And the best women's match of 2025 came from God Called In Sick Today on September 5th. The West Coast Pro Women's Championship on the line. Champion Johnny Robbie taking on Mika Alamala. And Johnny Robbie retaining her title, 3 1/2 star. Alright, on the men's side, the first 2 matches both came from For Love of the Game 2 on October 3rd. The first one was the finals of the West Coast Cup. We had Daniel Ryan and Andrew Cass. Andrew Cass winning the match, 3 1/2 star. And then the first round matchup of that same show, number 24 on the list, Atticus Cogar taking on Fancy Ryan Clancy. Atticus Cogar getting the victory, also in a 3 1/2 star match. Ironically, the next 2 come from Love of the Game on June 27th. Adam Priest taking on Starboy Charlie. Adam Priest getting the victory, 3 1/2 star. Number 22, Thomas Shire versus Alpha Zoe. Alpha Zoe getting the victory there. I gave it 3 1/2 as well. I didn't do this on purpose. The next two came from West Coast Pro Conquer the World on June 1st. We had a tag team match of Alan Angels and Jordan Cruz taking on Center and Saint, Judas Eckris and Travis Williams, and Center and Saint won the match 3.5 star. And then from the same show, the World Heavyweight title, West Coast Pro World Heavyweight title, champion Kevin Blackwood taking on Daniel Ryan. Kevin Blackwood winning the match in 3.5 star. 18 and 19 also came from, this is a theme throughout the entire list, I believe, from Prestige Wrestling West Coast, West Coast and Prestige Pro Strength Beyond Strength on November 7th. The West Coast tag titles on the line, champion the Crush Boy, Starboy Charlie, Titus Alexander taking on the Young Dead of Michael Moore and Vishu Akai. I don't probably pronounce that way wrong, but the Crush Boys retain their titles 3.5 star. And then the Golden Gate title of champion Andrew Cass taking on Adam Quest Adrian Quest, and Andrew Cass beating Adrian Quest in a 3.5 star match. And then 16 and 17 came from West Coast Pro and Prestige and Deadlock Pro united on June 1st. First one was the Prestige Wrestling Championship. Champion Alan Angels taking on East Coast Ace Jordan Oliver. Alan Angels won the match 3.5 star. And then the West Coast Pro Heavyweight title from the same show. Kevin Blackwood taking on Shane Hasty, and Kevin Blackwood will retain his title in a 3.5 star match. We're going to break that monotony up here now. Number 15 on the list came from Prestige West Coast Pro and Deadlock Pro's Cruel Summer on July 26th for the Prestige Wrestling Championship. Champion Judas Icarus taking on Leon Slater. Yes, TNA X Division champion Leon Slater. He won it by disqualification, so the title did not change hands in the 3.5 star match. Number 13 and 14 both came from When the Lights Go Down in the City. West Coast Pro presents on May 30th. First one was for the West Coast Pro Tag Team Championships, and then the second one's just a singles men's match. Cowboy Way, one called Manders, Thomas Shire, taking on Los Cervatus, Danny Rose, and Ricky Gee, and Cowboy Way retaining their title 3 3/4 star match. And then number 13 was Lee Moriarty and Starboy Charlie in a 3 3/4 star match where Lee Moriarty got the victory. Number 12 came from West Coast Best Coast on March 22nd. West Coast Pro Tag Team Championships on the line. The champion, the Crush Boy, Starboy Charlie and Titus Alexander, taking on the grizzled young veterans James Drake, Zach Gibson, the Liverpool's number 1, and the Crush Boys retain their titles in 3 3/4 star match. Number 11 came from Pro Vegas Vacation on April 17th. Alphazo, LJ Cleary, and Man Like Dalis. I say 0-1, you say 2-1, 0-1. Taking on Los Cervatus, Adrian Quest, Danny Rose, and Ricky Gee, and Alphazo, LJ Cleary, and Man Like Dalis got the victory. 3 3/4 star match. Number 10 comes from Only the Strong Survive. West Coast Pro Heavyweight Championship match. Champion Titus Alexander taking on Kevin Blackwood. Kevin Blackwood won this match in a 3 3/4 star match. Next up, we have number 9 on the list. And number 9 comes from How the West Was Won on November 1st for the West Coast Pro Tag Team Championships. The Crush Boys, Starboy Charlie, Titus Alexander taking on Cowboy Way, one called Manders, and Thomas Shire. The Crush Boys winning the match, retaining their titles in a 3 3/4 star match. Next up, we had number 8 on the list comes from God Called In Sick Today on September 5th for the West Coast Pro Heavyweight Championship. We had champion Kevin Blackwood, and returning to West Coast Pro, we had Carl Fredericks. Kevin Blackwood retained his title in a 3 3/4 star match. Number 7 came from Prestige Wrestling West Coast Pro Strength Beyond Strength, the West Coast Pro World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Champion Vinny Marzarlo taking on Royce Isaac, and Vinny Marzarlo retained his title in 3 3/4 star. Number 6 comes from Prestige West Coast Pro DPW united on June 1st for the West Coast Pro Tag Team titles on the line. Champions the Cowboy Way, one called Manders, Thomas Shire, taking on Center and Saint, Judas Icarus, and Travis Williams, and one called Manders and Thomas Shire retained their tag titles. 3 3/4 star match. Number 5 comes from the same show, we had a singles match. Cedric Alexander, Trevor Lee, two former WWE guys, two former TNA guys, who are back on the independents. Cedric Alexander got the victory. I gave it 4-star. West Coast Pro, Prestige, Deadlock Pro, Cruel Summer. West Coast Pro World Heavyweight title on the line. The best 2 out of 3 falls. Champion Kevin Blackwood taking on Cedric Alexander. Kevin Blackwood retained this title in a 4-star match. And one more 4-star match here for Kevin Blackwood with Pro Strength Beyond Strength. Prestige Championship on the line. Kevin Blackwood taking on Judas Icarus. Kevin Blackwood retained his title in a 4-star match. The second best match in West Coast Pro 2025, for me at least. Prestige Wrestling, West Coast Pro, DPW putting on Cruel Summer on July 26th. The West Coast Pro Tag Team Championships on the line. Champion, the Cowboy Way, one called Maynard's, Thomas Shire, taking on the Crush Boys, Starboy Charlie and Titus Alexander. New Tag Team Champions, the Crush Boys, 4.25-star match. And what I thought the best match was from West Coast, Best Coast, the West Coast Pro Heavyweight Championship on the line. Champion Kevin Blackwood taking on Trevor Lee, and Kevin Blackwood retaining this title, 4.25-star match. So those are the best matches of West Coast Pro 2025. Stay tuned to Robert Sports Show as we showcase a bunch of other independent companies throughout the entire month of January. We're going to review shows such as New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom, such as Royal Rumble. Obviously, we have some shows leading up to that. We'll review, Teenage Genesis, GCW. So a lot of different content coming to Robert Sports Show, NASCAR, Pro Wrestling, football. So yeah, just make sure you check on the channel, subscribe to the channel, follow back every day. We're going to have a different video. We're counting down for the Daytona 500 for the NASCAR folks. We're reviewing shows for the wrestling folks. We're doing picks for the football folks. So a little bit of everything right here on Robert Sports Show. As always, don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.